board today. We can conduct any business we deem appropriate. This time I'll ask for any additions or deletions to the agenda. All right, with none offered, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Budde.
Second.
Seconded by Clerk Ranka. With no discussion, those in favor of approving the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands approved. No presentations are scheduled for this evening. So at this time, I'll open up the microphone to public comment on the agenda items tonight. And we have 6 agenda items. Will there be any comment? All right, with none offered, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Treasurer.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 14-050, which includes the approval of minutes May 12th, 2014 regular meeting, approval minutes May 20th special meeting, approval check register dated May 16th, 2014, approval check register dated May 23rd, 2014, approval of check register dated May 30th, 2014, and approval of check register dated June 6, 2014.
Support.
Okay, I have the motion by Treasurer Van O, supported by Trustee Budde, to approve the consent agenda as published. Any discussion among the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The consent agenda stands approved. We will move into action items, and I will introduce the first one. Ready to take the heat? Okay, I will. And I move that Grosse Township Board of Trustees resolve to adopt the Wayne County Hazard Mitigation Plan dated 5 August 2013.
Support.
Okay, seconded by Clerk Ranka. And this involves the reading of a resolution. I will read the resolution and then ask for the supporting data from Chief Murdoch. So the resolution goes, whereas Wayne County and its communities are at risk of natural, technological, and human hazards, and whereas the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 requires communities to have a 5-year hazard mitigation plan approved by the Federal Emergency Management Agency in order to receive funds made available through certain mitigation grant programs, and whereas the Wayne County Hazard Mitigation Plan, prepared in cooperation with the Wayne County communities, identifies the hazard threats to the county and feasible mitigation projects to minimize hazard impacts, and whereas the contents of the Hazard Mitigation Plan were reviewed by and received input from residents and local officials representing the local units of government within Wayne County, now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Grosse hereby adopts the Wayne County Hazard Mitigation Plan dated August 5, 2013, pursuant to the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 44, Chapter 1, Subchapter D, Part 201, Section 201.C6C5. Chief Murdoch.
Boy, the federal government.
Yep.
Real quick, apologize to the board for not having supportive information in your packet, but this is this part of the supportive information that I could have put on your tablets. So, but that being said, this was a typical 5-year renewal. This is different than our hazardous mitigation plan that we sign annually, that the supervisor signs and I sign. This is now another document for natural hazards. This one's done every 5 years. This allows us to tap into the federal government and FEMA with funding during natural disasters, education, training, all things along that nature. There's a bunch of ways in which you can do this. We could have done it as a community and gone after FEMA and gone through the process. We choose in Wayne County not to do that. We let emergency management handle it, and we do it as a multi-jurisdictional group, entire county of Wayne. It's more effective with the federal government. They like it better that way. The other question is, why don't we sign on with the state and let the state handle all this? Federal government doesn't like that. Federal government prefers small, multi-jurisdictional groups apply or stay in contact with the FEMA group on what they're doing to mitigate problems that they foresee and what they've done and what they're doing to take care of them in case of any type of natural disaster. One of them would be just cutting down our trees and the dead trees in the local open space, things like that. Things that would damage structures, create power outages, damage to water systems, treatment plant, anything that's natural. You have a storm come through and put the treatment center out, so that kind of stuff. So basically, it's just, a big group trying to tap the federal government if something goes wrong.
Okay. Questions for Chief Murdoch from the board? I guess you sold it.
It's all that paper he's got.
I scared you.
Yeah. He was going to make us read all of it if we... Okay, with no questions, then I'll reread the question. Those in favor of adopting the Wayne County Hazard Mitigation Plan dated 5th of August 2013, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. The plan is hereby adopted. Move on to action item number 2, Mr. Buddy.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the elevator change order for the wastewater treatment plant from Lardner Elevator Company for the lump sum price of $39,575, based on the recommendation of the DPS Commission and the Charles E. Raines Company.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Buddy and seconded by Treasurer Van Oss. Tell us about this project.
Well, if you recall, previously, we have approved work being done on the elevator. When they went in to do that work, they found that the rails that the car rides on were corroded and pulling away from the wall. It was looked into, the state inspector was out, and it was decided that the rails had to be replaced, and that's what this change order is to replace the rails from top to bottom. Bill, if you would, Mr. Kostick, the chairman of our DPS commission.
You might as well just stay up here, Bill, because we're going to be working you hard this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Bill Kostick, Chair of the DPS Commission. I want to add to Jim's report that when we first heard about this in such a large amount, our original contract was in the mid-90s to replace the elevator itself. And it's 40, 50 years old, the elevator is. And, the wastewater plant, you've all been there at one time or another. It's a single-story building. The elevator goes down 3, I want to call them basement levels. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 different levels down in the ground. And the back side of the elevator structure, the counterweight, which is a huge, Ted can probably explain it better than I, heavy metal object, counterweights the elevator, and it's attached to a rail on the back. Well, the environment at the wastewater plant is so humid and corrosive that many of the brackets have actually pulled away from the concrete, so it's unsafe. So we looked at this and considered it. I have to tell you that 5 members of the commission went up there and inspected it with the wastewater plant operator, including Mr. Van Oz and Mr. Budney, and we recommend that this work be done. So,
I didn't see any other bids.
This contractor is under contract with us.
Okay.
And so we didn't feel we could do that. He's installing the other portions that will slide on the rails. We need to replace the rails. And a couple of times the state inspector was out and looked at this. So we did get another price. It wasn't for a complete replacement, and it was within $10,000 of this. But we don't feel like we have any other choice. So Hal Sabak, our engineer, looked it over. Something we don't normally do. He checked the pricing, and we feel it's a reasonable price for the services to be provided. So we're recommending approval. We don't seem to have a choice with this one.
Okay.
And we need the elevator. So,
Mr. Treasurer.
Just a couple of questions, Bill. Just for open and transparency, how much will we have invested in this elevator once this part of the project is added to it?
well, it'll be about $135,000.
$135,000. And that money is coming out of the
treatment reserve.
the hazardous or the mitigation factor.
We have an accumulated wastewater treatment reserve, as you know, that
Right.
we're going to draw this money from.
Thanks, Bill. I just wanted that number out there because the 35 is just part of a much larger number, and elevators are expensive.
And it's been out of service now for a couple of months, and we absolutely need it. The staff needs it, and so we need to proceed with this.
From what I'm learning, dealing with Wayne County and their wastewater treatment and their financial woes, and what I've learned out at DCC, as much problem as we've had with our wastewater treatment, I mean, it's been ongoing maintenance issues, and it's tedious to keep our wastewater treatment plant up to standards. I'm so glad we have our own wastewater treatment plant, and we're not, I don't know if we could be plumbed into Wayne County, but that's just not going to go well. It's just not going well over there.
Well, we can be glad, and then it's expensive.
Well, it's expensive, but I'm looking what other communities are expecting to get slammed who are in the Wayne County wastewater treatment plants, the downriver one, and it's breathtaking.
Well, one of the other commissioners, when we looked this over, he said, well, we're really getting the shaft. So.
I'll just say at DPS, you're doing a great job keeping the plant running, keeping it up to standards, and it's keeping our costs at a manageable level. So, you know, fortunately, you've had the foresight to keep the maintenance reserve, that capital reserve available, keep it running, and keep us sort of masters of our own destiny in that. So thank you once again. Other questions, comments for Mr. Kostick? All right, with none offered, those in favor of, I gotta look at the, sorry, I'm on the wrong resolution here.
Number 2.
Wow, I've got that. It's just not materializing. I'm showing blank pages. I'm waiting for, this isn't a perfect system. Somebody's got it called up. Would you? Thank you. Okay. The clerk's way ahead of me on this. Okay. Those in favor of approving the elevator change order for the wastewater treatment plant from Lardner Elevator Company for the lump sum price of $39,575 based on the recommendation of the DPS Commission and the Charles E. Range Company, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Motion carries. All right. Thank you on that one. And Mr. Budney?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Now, number 3. I'd like to move to approve the chip seal bid, subject to review and recommendation from the Charles E. Raines Company, Township Engineering Consultants, and upon their approval of satisfactory pricing and reference checks, and contingent upon the DPS Commission's review and approval of the engineer's report.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Trustee Posiast. Mr. Kostick. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr.
No,
Budney.
Bill, you want to just go into this?
If you have any introductory comments.
Just as one of the things that the DPS committee is doing is putting together a long-term plan for our roads and water mains. And one of the things that we discovered last year was this chip seal process for our roads, which I believe probably every county in Michigan does it but Wayne County. And it does extend the life of your roads quite a bit, and for about 1/10 of the price. So last year we wanted to do a couple of miles to show the people what it's like, and it's a very seasonal type thing. Pretty much June through August is when you have to do it. So we weren't able to get people out to do it last year. What this is for our test of about 4 miles of road. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kostick.
Okay, and I think most of you I've talked to about this chip seal that we've been studying for a couple of years. And I know Wally was on the commission when we first started looking at it, and Ted's been around, and Jim, and I know that Lauren's been out with me, and I think Tom and Eric, you're aware of it as well, and I know I've talked to you, Brian. We've been looking at this for 2 years. It came up as an idea that why won't we use chip seal? And what it is, it's a heavy asphalt solution that is spread on asphalt pavement, and a chip that is it's not round, it's flat, is spread immediately on the road, and it's rolled in, not with a typical roller, but the rubber wheel roller. And and it doesn't have any structural integrity, but it fills all the voids in the roads and the cracks. And other counties, almost every county in the state except Wayne County does this. And so we went to Monroe County last year, the whole commission did. We saw their equipment, their process, we met with their staff, we looked at their roads, and I don't recall the name of the road, but the road that the Monroe County Country Club is on has the traffic similar to Meridian. And that road's beautiful, and they do it every 3-4 years. And that's all they do. So we thought, well, with 70 miles of roads, and many of those being asphalt, if we could preserve our roads, let's go for it. So we started out and we invited, we learned that there's an Ohio firm in Northern Ohio that didn't bid on it, but there are 3 firms in the state that do this statewide. And you got to shut me off on this one when you want. I want you to have the complete picture. So I've looked at roads in Midland County, Oakland County, Monroe County, the commission went, Lenawee County, and talked to the directors of the road commissions in those areas that do it. And they're very happy with it once you get started. Now, just the typical problem, we were going to do Ferry as a trial. We wanted to do a pilot program in Wayne County. And our idea was we were going to do it last year. Monroe County said, we'll do it for you. The governor's promoting this cooperative venture. We'll do it for you. Well, they didn't. They got rained out so many days that they couldn't do their own. And they do about 60, 70 miles a year, they said. And they were going to charge us $25,000 a mile, they said. And they were going to do Ferry, and we were going to do the section of East River, right out here from Grow to Manchester. Well, they didn't get it done, so we decided to proceed. We invited a gentleman that I got his name through a state association, retired from MDOT, who's with Terry Asphalt out of Grand Rapids. They have an office in Grand Rapids and in Alma. And very knowledgeable. He met with our commission. We spent the day with him a year ago. We drove our roads, and he gave us advice on what we needed to do. So when you do the chip seal on some of the roads, well, I'll get into that later. So anyway, so we were all set to bid it. So last November, we went to Wayne County for permission to do this. Sent a letter, asked for permission. As you know, I spent most of the winter in Florida. When I got back, we hadn't received approval yet. And so Hill had asked the county to look at this. So when I got back, I put pressure on everybody. And mid-April, we met, and we were told, we're going to approve it. You'll have a letter by the end of April. So we had our commission meeting. I said, great, we'll have our letter by the end of April. We still don't have a letter of approval. Finally, a week ago, they said, forget the letter, just apply for the permit you need. We won't charge you for a permit. We'll give you the permit and you'll have approval. So we wanted to do a pilot program thinking we're a great candidate. We have low volume, low speeds, a lot of our asphalt roads, so we're a great candidate to do it. So we put the bids together, went out to bids, and now we're greatly disappointed because we only had one bid. And Sharon aptly advised us that your procedures are, so I hope you'll open it tonight, and we'll evaluate it tomorrow. The engineers will break down all the unit prices tomorrow, look at it, and if the prices, they're going to give a report to us tomorrow night. And if you could, your resolution is to make it subject to the engineer's approval and make it subject to our commission's review and approval, and a couple other things. We've already gotten 3 references checked out: the City of Midland, City of Auburn Hills, and so Hill's done one other one. And they all came back great with this contractor who's out of Romulus. So that's the bid that we have. There's in the packet that you have, I think, if I looked at the right packet, you have a little chain of events where I wrote him an email saying how disappointed I was, and his reply. And since I'm on TV, I'll just mention it real briefly. Terry Asphalt's out of Grand Rapids and Alma. There's a firm that does it all over the state, or in Lower Michigan, and he's from Saginaw. And the company's name is Farner. And so they work together sometimes. Terry Asphalt, in this case, came to our pre-bid. So we had 2 firms at our pre-bid meeting, drove the roads and looked at the projects. And then Farner didn't show up. But Terry Asphalt talked to them, and they said they were going to come down, look at it, and bid it. Well, they didn't. So that's what that was all about. So we're disappointed we only have one bid. At this point, since the work can only be done in July and August, because you need warm nights, you don't want it to get, we'd like to open this bid. If it's outlandish, we won't approve it. And so we'd like you to look at that. The roads we were going to do, Dale put this map here. We were going to do Grow Road right out in front of the Township Hall. From South Point, the canal, we were going to come from the canal where there's some rough spots, out to Grow and along Grow to East River. And then we were going to do East River from Grow to Manchester. Now, in 1 year, that section has gotten a lot more deterioration, so we're going to have to do a lot more repair, come in with some asphalt repairs before we do the chip seal. So that's included in the pricing too. And then we're going to do the section of East River from Macomb past the junior high school to Ferry. We thought these were highly visible projects, so we're going to, if we have a successful bid and they do the job, then we're going to really get the residents and try to get cooperation from everybody to advertise, go look at these roads, residents, and then look at them next spring too. And we're going to do Horse Mill from Meridian to East River. So that's, if the bids are good, that's what we hope to do. So with that said, I think I've covered everything.
Well, it was not too much time because the number one complaint, I'm sure we all get it, is what are you going to do about the roads? Looks like we're going to do something about the roads. So time well spent, at least from a briefing perspective.
I know the one point I wanted to mention that stumbled over. Ferry was on our list last year. What happened this winter, it's alligatored, but the cracks weren't that bad. They're too bad to do now. So throughout Ferry, we can't do a chip seal. It's eligible for a total resurfacing or reconstruct now, like Church.
Good. Other comments, questions for Mr. Kostick?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, I'm very excited to see the bids or a bid is finally here, right? And we've been talking about this for a couple different years, basically saying, hey, Wayne County owns the roads, but rather than just being a victim and say, hey, there's nothing we can do about it, Wayne County, go talk to Wayne County. You guys went out, you found a better way of doing it, a cheaper way of doing it. Now you're bringing it to us. It's to me, that's fantastic. The one word of caution is if we open the bid tonight, make sure that we're ready to open the bid before you re-advertise and get a couple more bids.
Well, I don't think we can. I think we've run out of time for this year.
More bids.
We've run out of time.
I'm sorry, we're almost out of time on this. That's what a tight time frame there is to do this project.
They're all booked up there.
Yeah.
That's what we've learned.
That's why the no bid, because there's these other firms are...
Yeah.
No, if the guy from Saginaw would have come down, he would have bid it. That was the deal that was supposed to take place. But he didn't. And we talked initially about, well, let's just go rebid this and not open it. And the fellow in Saginaw said, well, I can't. At this point, I wouldn't be able to get to it. And
So there wasn't much point.
so we'll just have to wait till next spring. And believe me, we would bid it this time in March, not in June. That's a problem with all the construction that's going on right now. So, Wally?
First of all, 3 cheers for you and your committee. Number one, tar and chip is a marvelous fix, and it's so simple that even people in Ohio use it. So, they do all of their roads in Ohio, and it's been a great system.
Yeah.
The wear pattern, we've seen a little bit of it, Bill. As you recall, I mentioned that the toll bridge, the approaches are tar and chip. We have enough proof, and I think you can go forward with full confidence. I saw the dust control truck out here, and it reminded me of Ohio. So let's go. It's going to be some pretty road when it's done.
Well, we'd like to try it so we can show it to people, and in our long-term plan that we're working on, that we would come back to you for next year, is if we're successful, we'd like to do 15 miles in 2016. And the cost, we're looking at, with a double chip seal, we're looking at in the range of $50,000 to $60,000 a mile. That's what everybody's told us. Versus $500,000 a mile to resurface.
I wasn't quite done. The only thing I wanted to mention to you is that there's been a recent little bit of stir about the types of coatings that people are using on asphalt roads, and coal tar sealant specifically brought up as being a very suspect chemical, a danger to human health. Might you be able to find out if there is evidence of no coal tar in the procedure.
Sure.
Better to have an asphaltic, our dust control, again, is an asphalt emulsion. But if we're using asphalt products, I would hope there would be no coal tar in them. They are a suspect carcinogen, and USGS has just come out with some strong language about it, so.
Yes, I will. In fact, we used the MDOT spec. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't have this coal tar in it. So, and then I'm aware through this study that there's a lot of other emulsions that you can put on thicker. They aren't necessarily adaptable to chip coating, though. But we decided to stick with this. But I'll find that out. That's a good call. Thank you. Are you done?
Yes, sir. Oh, and one more thing. No, I'm done.
Other questions, comments for Mr. Costick?
Bill, you know there is one problem with this.
No.
You're going to get a lot of phone calls. Why isn't it my road?
If it's
Well,
nice, yeah.
So be prepared for that.
Well, the plan, these are all secondary roads that we're talking about, and the plan that we're working on is that if this is successful and if the voters approve something for us in 2015, when we go to them, and we're going to work on that hard, every secondary road in the township will be on the list. Everyone. Secondary. You know what a secondary road is? A collector road. So.
And I'm also glad you mentioned something about church, so.
Church needs to be totally reconstructed.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Final comments, questions for Mr. Costick? So I guess first thing we do is we open the bid.
Yes.
Is it, drum roll, please?
This is the chip sealing for various roads bid submitted by Highway Maintenance and Construction Company out of Romulus. They did include the necessary bid bond. This is a multi-segment bid.
There actually should be 6 different bid.
Correct.
We bid it by street. So,
Okay, do you want grand total first, or do you want the breakdown?
the breakdown would make more sense to
Okay,
me.
okay. Base bid for Section 1 Horse Mill, Meridian Road to Park Lane, $64,932.50. It has 2 alternate bids. Do you want those as well?
No, I don't think you have to get the detail.
Base bid for Section 2, East River Road, Manchester Boulevard to Grow Road, $95,700. Base bid, Section 3, East River Road, Macomb Street to Ferry Road, $46,425 even. Base bid for South Point Road, Broadhead to Grow Road, $39,245 even. Base bid, Section 5, Grow Road, South Point to Meridian, $40,222.50. Alternate bid, Section 6, Park Lane, Horse Mill to the Point, $126,300 even. Summary table is, includes 2 alternate bids, alternate A, alternate B,
Now, what's the
of
total?
various amounts.
What's the total?
Grand total. Grand total. Well, let's see, maybe they hit it up front here. Apparently, they didn't add it
Okay.
all up.
Well, our budget was $240,000, what we budgeted and requested in the budget for the chip seal program. And remember, the first 3 that she read at least seem to be within the ballpark in my mind, because it's not only the chip seal, but it includes the base repairs. So the engineers have bid everything on a unit price basis, so they're going to have to study this tomorrow, turn it around, and they're going to come to our meeting tomorrow night. So is the contractor. We invited the contractor to come in so we can interview him and let him know how important this is to us. Looks like we may have some good bids there. Now, we added on, as we were feeling our oats when we drove through the community, we added on the section of Park Lane from Presbyterian Church at Horse Mill all the way out to the point. because we thought it was a good candidate, that's the option, the alternate bid, and it was $170,000, I think it was.
126.
126? Okay. So at any rate, that could be, we don't intend to proceed with that one. And it's said in the bid document that we may not proceed with that one. So I think we have something good to look at here. So I'm feeling better about it.
Okay. All right, with the knowledge of, we have opened the single bid. It falls within your estimate that you went into this with. I guess I'm going to offer a vote to approve the motion. So, those in favor of approving the chip seal bid that we just opened, subject to further review and recommendation from the Charles E. Raines Company, our engineering consultants, and upon their approval of satisfactory pricing and reference checks, and contingent upon the DPS Commission's review and approval of the engineer's report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm excited about seeing progress made on the road.
I hope we can proceed.
Good. But anyway, don't go anywhere. Mr. Budney.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, what can I do for you?
How about
a motion?
How about a motion? How about action item number 4?
Motion to award bid to RVP Construction, lowest bidder, in the amount of $16,800 for drainage improvements based upon the recommendation of the Charles E. Raines Company, Township Engineers, and the DPS Commission.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Clerk Ranka.
Just a little history. This all came about actually last year when we were having our heavy rains. There was a area on Loma Circle, gentlemen, residents who had flooding to a great extent. We brought in the engineers. We've taken a look at this. We came before the board, I believe, to have the engineers work this up. And this is the culmination of that so that we can do the work. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bill to discuss the work that needs to be involved.
We've been trying to tackle these drainage problems as they arise one by one, and this one is an area between Hawthorne Glen and Loma Circle, which is immediately south of the Hawthorne Glen development. A couple of lots that on the north side of Loma Circle, their properties back up to the backyards of Hawthorne Glen. There was an old drain, and there's quite a bit of a slope on the Hawthorne Glen grading, but there was an old drain that is now filled in with trees and silt that doesn't function as a drain. You can still see that it was at one point. And the solution to the drainage problem, the flooding that's occurred last year, is to go in and remove all the trees. And there's trees that vary from a couple inches to 6 or 7 or 8 inches that have overgrown brush, so it just doesn't function anymore. So it's really just reestablishing the drain.
By drain, we're not looking at it as a vessel. It's a ditch.
Yeah, it's a ditch, and we may, I don't have the specs in front of me, but there may be an improvement at the inlet to the culvert that will ultimately take it. But this whole Loma Circle area is poorly drained, and I don't know the history of it, but I know that on the east side of the back end of Loma Circle, it's poorly drained. Water sits there. It doesn't hurt anybody or anything, but a lot of water comes through this area. So we decided to proceed with this project, and I'd like to award the bid.
Okay. I do recollect that torrential downpour. We had the record rainfall that one day, and there was a lot of property damage in that area. So hopefully this will, clearing that drainage would alleviate, preclude hopefully that from happening again.
It'll solve one of the problems in that area.
Well, we're starting. Okay. Questions, comments from Mr. Coste?
Bill, was there some question about previous work done there, left soils on site that may have caused more of a problem?
I don't think so involving this property.
Okay.
There was another flooding problem in Loma Circle, but it was a piece of property. As you enter Loma Circle off West River, it's the two properties on the south side of the entrance of Loma Circle. Water runs rapidly across their backyards, and the second house, they built a swimming pool in a valley, and they actually, and we're looking at that right now. Tomorrow night, we're going to discuss it at our commission meeting, but actually knocked out their door wall, their patio
That was
door
what I
wall.
was referring to.
And the water rushed through their house. Now, it hasn't happened this year. And by the way, our work we did on the drains through the airport, we haven't had any flooding, knock on wood.
Okay.
So, anyway, so this is a different problem.
Thank you. Maybe I crossed them in my mind.
Other questions, comments for Mr. Costick? All right, with none offered, those in favor of awarding the bid to RVP Construction, the lowest bidder, in the amount of $16,800 for drainage improvements, based on the recommendation of the Charles E. Raines Company, our engineers, and the DPS Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you all.
Offered?
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mr. Costick.
Bill.
Don't leave without that. All right, moving on to action item number 5.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk.
I recommend that the Township Board pass a resolution to purchase and install 2 handicap in area signs. Looking for support.
Support. Okay. Moved by Clerk Rankin, seconded by Supervisor Loftus, and Chief Porcelli.
Hi, good evening. I received a request from Wayne County. An individual from HCL Jackson has a deaf child, and she requested that the county look at an area to put in 2 handicap and area signs. Just so you know, a few years back, the county changed. There were so many different requests for different type of handicapped individuals, children, that they only use one sign now. I think in your packet, I put one of those signs in there. It's just handicap and area. It's the only one they use. But anyway, she requested, so Traffic Services called me up. And I realized that it usually goes through the DPS department. They handle all the signs. I told Lorinda, since I just followed up on the complaint, I'll handle the resolution if that was okay. And I worked with her. The amount on there will come out of the road fund if you believe that this is a good purchase and necessary for that area. We only have a couple of them out and around Grosse Ile. It's not like they're inundated or we're getting calls from all over. I did go out and take a look at where this individual lives, and one of the workers for our police department actually lives by her and confirmed everything and knows the child. But it is a blind corner. I would recommend it just because of where it's at on the street. It's not an open T intersection. It's not a straight line roadway. It is a curve. It's not a bad idea. I think for the amount of money, it's well worth it for that type of individual. I'll handle the paperwork, the permits. There will be no charge through Wayne County. They'll do this for free. They will go out there, send their engineers. They'll spot the area that they do want it at. The only thing that their policy requires is that Grosse Ile Township has a resolution, purchase, and the installation and maintenance of the sign is up to the Township of Grosse Ile. Okay. They do not handle it, although it's on their property, and they okay it, and with their engineers and spotting it.
Okay, well, it'd be up to us to have it removed if the conditions changed, if the family had moved on. So
correct.
It does make sense we have it. You answered my question, why handicap an area? Because if I see deaf child in area, means something different to me. Handicap, I would expect to see some visible indication, whereas a deaf child, you're not going to know, and I'm not going to know the reason I should expect this child to walk in front of me is because he can't hear my car. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they did anybody any favors by going to that universal, but that's what they did, so that's what we're...
Yeah, that's why I explained that. I've had some questions in the past from that also. There's just been so many different types of children with different challenges and so on and so forth that they just put it down to one type of sign. And
I think in my neighborhood, they had lots of goofy kids in the area.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
when I was growing up, so I guess I don't do that anymore. There were lots of us. Questions, comments for Chief Porcelli?
North of Church?
correct, near the south exit of Knutson on to HCL Jackson.
Okay, I know exactly where. We have a similar sign south of church on...
Correct, right near, right past the curve from Concord.
That's correct.
To the second Knutson. Yes, that's
I
correct.
thought it was a duplicate sign.
Yeah, and, that is right there, right before Hampton.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions for Chief Porcelli? If none offered, those in favor of approving the purchase of and installation of 2 handicapped in area signs, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, moving on. Mr. Modesto.
Mr. Supervisor, it is a recommendation of the Groseal Fire Commission and Groseal Fire Department to purchase a double-stack boat trailer from Loadmaster Boat Trailers for a sum of $9,450, and Chief Murdoch will give us an explanation.
Have a motion from Trustee Modesto and seconded by Trustee Bundy. Chief.
Kind of in a nutshell, this is the picture that's up right now is our current trailer. It's a snowmobile trailer that was modified about 15, 20 years ago. As you can see, it's overloaded. It's starting to show its wear, and we're looking to replace it with something that is not homemade built. We built this, the firemen built this trailer. We're looking to something that is more
purpose-built.
It's developed specifically for what public safety does. Is part of our capital improvement plan replacement. NIOSH, which is a company that keeps track of public safety when it comes to accidents with trailers, fire trucks, police cars, all kinds of things. They're coming down on the trailers now like they have the fire trucks on loose equipment falling off them, things of that nature. So as you can see, this trailer here doesn't have a lot of loose equipment on it. There will be 2 boxes up to the front of that trailer that will hold some of our loose equipment, but we've had to move quite a bit of it onto our engine 4 to get it off the trailer, some of this current equipment that's on there. So, but the trailer as it stands right now is basically wore out. So, and it served its purpose while we were doing our thing. So,
Questions, comments for the chief?
I'm
sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
By the way, I was talking with Jim, and I talked with the trailer manufacturer. I got the cost of that trailer down another $1,000 on the way to the office today.
Even better.
I like doing that. Mrs. Smith.
I know that you guys assisted on the Dearborn rescue in the river a few weeks ago, and I was just wondering, do you guys have any sort of policy or protocol as far as how far you guys will travel to assist in rescues?
Any community that's part of the Downriver Mutual Aid Pact, which includes Dearborn, just joined.
Yeah.
And so now it's as far as Dearborn.
Okay.
So, yeah, but the caveat to it is, too, Groseal Fire Department also belongs to Monroe County Mutual Aid, because they have a lot of benefit with education, training, and things of that nature. So we could go as far as almost down to the Ohio border.
Right, okay, great.
So never have been, but, yeah, we cover both Monroe County and a portion of Wayne County with our water rescue trailer.
Okay. Other questions, comments for the chief? Actually, having knocked the price down by $1,000, turn this down.
Mr. Supervisor? No, it's me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Gregg.
So the price in the motion is now $8,450?
Yes.
Okay.
Safety, safety, safety.
Yeah. Okay, with that modification then of the motion, those in favor of authorizing Groseal Fire Department to purchase double-stack boat trailer from Loadmaster Boat Trailers for the sum of $8,450, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered? Thank you, Chief. Well done. That'll conclude our action items. Moving on to the clerk's report. Clerk Rankin.
Mr. Supervisor, 2 things. One is a big thank you to volunteer election registration official Tammy Travis Taylor for conducting voter registration drive at the Groseal High School on behalf of the clerk's office prior to graduation rehearsal last week. Ms. Travis Taylor was able to register 25 students to vote. The second part is that we've got an August primary election coming up. So the last day to register to vote in order to be eligible for the August primary election is July 7th. Absentee ballots will be mailed out to registered permanent absentee voters at the end of June. And voters qualified to vote by absentee ballot may obtain a ballot by mail until 2 p.m. on Saturday, August 2nd. They may also vote absentee in person at the clerk's office until 4 p.m. on Monday, August 4th. Qualifications for absentee ballots are any person 60 years of age or older, anybody expected to be absent from the community for the entire time the polls are open, anybody physically unable to attend the polls without assistance, anyone who cannot attend the polls because of the tenets of a religion, anyone who has been appointed as an election inspector at a precinct other than where you vote, or because you are confined to jail awaiting arraignment or trial. Applications are being accepted for election precinct inspectors. Call or see Sharon or Brian in the clerk's office during regular business hours for more information. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Ranka. Move on to Treasurer, Mr. Van Ossen.
Thank you, Brian. For the month of April, Grosse Ile Township, had $9,508,696 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated a total of $2,265 in interest, which is a rate of 0.18%. Still pretty bleak. You can get a current breakdown of all the investments by going to grosseile.com onto my website, and it'll show you where all the money is and what accounts are in. The Township's Treasurer's Office is preparing for the upcoming 2014 summer tax bills. Never ends. Mortgage companies have sent bills requests for escrow properties in our office, and we'll be sent duplicate copies for the 2014 tax bills. All Grosse Ile property owners are mailed the original tax bills. And then, of course, dog park passes and licenses are available at the clerk's office. And I believe that's all I have. That's it.
All right, thank you, Treasurer Van Oss. Move on to trustee reports. We'll begin with Mr. Bundy.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. DPS meeting tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Obviously, we're going to talk about that chip seal bid. So I encourage everybody to come and see that. No ZBA meeting this month. I would think somewhere along the line we're going to hear tonight about a lot of praise for the people that worked the Island Fest, and rightfully so. It was very good. I myself would like to point out one person who I think just did a great job with her leadership, and we came up with an Island Fest that looked different. Nothing but good things said about it, and that'd be Mrs. Smith sitting next to me. I know for sure that she worked very hard on it, and she deserves a lot of credit for the fact that it came out so well.
I'm going to request a moment of noise.
Now, it was a team. It was a team effort.
And then one other thing, we had a study session tonight regarding ordinance review. It's something that actually Lauren and I have been working on pretty much since January. Come a week from Friday, a new program is being rolled out, or will be rolled out. And I guess the best way to sum it up is there will be no more going out asking people to clean up a violation, and that dropping off the table. It's going to be an enforcement. We're going to have an enforcement officer 5 days a week working on this, and we will be carrying the violations through to abatement one way or another. So it's a new day in town for Grosse Ile and their ordinance violations. So one of the big things that we hope to do during this pilot is educating the residents and letting them know. We do not want them to have fines or citations. What we want is to have the violations cleaned up, and that's what we're going to try and accomplish here. So be aware. That's it, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Budney. Mr. Posiask.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Jim Budney, like usual, steals my number one comment, but thank you to everybody who worked on Island Fest. Unfortunately, I was not there, but that probably made it better, right? The items I'd like to tell you about are about the Bike Path Committee. Number one, I'd like to congratulate and thank Jane Fijo, one of the members, for some magnificent work she did putting together a Bike to School Day video. And I believe that's going on or is already on GITV. If it's not, we should put it up there. She did a really, really nice job about promoting Bike to School Day and bragging about it. Something that we need to be, blowing our horn and being proud of. But I'm very proud of Jane for the work she did. Last week, we had our second town hall meeting with the Greenways Open Space Committee, and it was a little bit better attended than the first one. Came up with some nice ideas from it. Another thing that you should notice around the township is that all the wooden bridges have been cleaned and refinished again to protect them. Our infrastructure is important to us, whether it's made out of asphalt or wood, and we're doing our thing, and thanks, Lorinda and your gang, for the help there. Third thing. This is something that has just come to my attention, and it's titled for public information. I'll read it to you verbatim. St. James Episcopal Church is celebrating their third annual Blessing of the Bicycles on Sunday, June 15th at 2:00 p.m. Bicycles, tricycles, unicycles, quadricycles, and motorcycles are all welcome. Following the Blessing of the Bicycles, there will be a short communal ride, followed by an ice cream social on the church lawn, and they know how to do that. I've been there. You need not be affiliated with St. James Church to join the fun. All are welcome to attend this Sunday, June 15th at 2:00 p.m. St. James Episcopal Church is located at 25150 East River Road near Bellevue, near the east end of our newest bike path. Thank you, David Hartwell, for sending this along to us. And final thing I'd like to mention, and this is still in the planning stages and nothing printed up, but Tom Alvesto and I are up to something. Tom and I would like to invite people to another community event. It's going to revolve around our recreation department, the BPAC, and the Grosse Ile Open Space Committees. We're proposing that on July 26th, we have a come together as a community using those bike paths, using those paths, using those trails from north and south, and converging in the intersection of Macomb and Meridian at the pavilion there for ice cream and hot dogs. And Tom is hell-bent on cooking the hot dogs, so I'll be serving the ice cream and perhaps the lemonade, and we're going to be passing it out till we run out. This is something that makes Grosse Ile special. We have something to brag about in our past, soft and hard. So watch for the announcements to come in the next few weeks. And Tom's going to be practicing at home and his culinary skills, and I'll be figuring out how to pour lemonade with both hands. I hope it comes together very well, and we hope to see you all there. That's all I have tonight, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Posiask. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I appreciate the credit and accolades, but really this does take a team to put on this massive event. This year at Island Fest, not only did we have, new decorations, a new layout, a new beach area, but the weather also played a part in that success. This year we had over 42 sponsors, 89 vendors, including nonprofits. We've heard reports of record sales, doubled our wristbands as in year past. I heard the KOC group, Knights of Columbus, sold all but one of their 515 steaks, so I don't know if one just went missing or somebody ate two. But anyway...
Can't blame me.
I personally want to thank the Festival Commission and Chairman Chad Novak for a job well done. Each commissioner really stepped up and, hit the ground running. There was no job too big or too small. We all chipped in. Many helped with additional tasks prior to the event and helping create some of the fish that were outside, the Key West signs that were put together, the decorations and the new lighting. One of the things about this particular group is they're incredibly creative and they're incredibly passionate, and I think the merging of those two traits really paid off this year. I would also like to thank Tim Rooney and the entire Recreation Department staff. The dedication and the hard work that they did was fantastic. Tim obviously has his staff really well trained because despite him not being here, they jumped in and filled every area that needed to be taken care of. And those 3 kids, I apologize, I don't remember their names. But those young kids who he had working that event busted their tails. I mean, they would do anything for us. They would stop and say, what do you need? Where do I need to go? I can go do it for you. I mean, it was incredible. I'd also like to thank Mike Duker, the airport manager, for coordinating all of the airplane visits and flyovers with the Yankee Air Museum, as well as the off-field RC helicopter event and the car race with Fast Track Exotics. Thank you to John Kime and the DPS department for taking care of everything from loading in the chairs and the new gates that were delivered to making sure that every trash receptacle and recycle bin were kept neat and orderly, as well as everything else that they do during that event. Thank you to the public safety departments for orchestrating yet another year of an incident-free event. I'd also like to thank Julie Cordes for coordinating all of the reserve officers. Their friendly attitude and their ability to direct people in a nice and polite way definitely pays off. I'd like to thank Ted Fournier and his crew at GITV for covering the parade, the fireworks, and all the other happenings. Additionally, I want to thank Ted for handling our webpage and social media and the general promotion of the event. He took the time and put together a video. It was absolutely wonderful. Sorry, I've got a few more paragraphs. Thank you to the township staff and anybody who assisted everywhere else. I know Dale and Ann, you guys were definitely key figures there. So whether it was manning the gates or the info booth or helping check vendors in, setting up or tearing down, it was great to have you all a part of the festival team. Tom and Jim, actually a part of the board, came and manned the wristband booth, and I think they had a good time giving back to the community. I'd like to thank you to the board for the $7,500 contribution. Without that, we might not have been able to do what we needed to do to get this event done. I'd like to thank Doc Morris, Ace Pyro, as well as the EL Camera for covering and putting on a great fireworks display. Lastly, though, I do want to thank all of the volunteers who took the time out of their beautiful weekend and spend it at this growing event. Without these reliable helpers, the questions would have gone unanswered, directions may have been given out wrong, schedules would have been missed, wristbands wouldn't have been sold, and people would have been drinking willy-nilly. The change wouldn't have been made. Centennial stickers wouldn't have been peddled. The decor wouldn't have been made prior. Instructions not followed, and the shuttling and chauffeuring of the commissioners around wouldn't have happened, as well as so much more. But also, with that being said, I want to recognize the spouses and significant others of those who both worked and volunteered at the event, because you let us borrow the people who really made a difference. So I appreciate that. Now, I realize I may have forgotten some people, and if I have, I really apologize for that. So please understand that we thank you for that, your contribution. Next year's event is tentatively slated for May 29th through the 31st. The commission isn't meeting until next week, so we'll probably decide at that particular point. But big plans are already in the works for 2015. Next week, we're going to be doing a recap. We're going to look at all the good and the bad and the ugly, and then we'll give the full report to the board. I believe within 90 days of the event, we have to deliver that to you. Now our next big task is planning the Centennial celebration. So now that Island Fest is behind us in success, we look forward to planning something successful for October. With that being said, I want to remind everybody that the commemorative stickers are still available for $1. We're running slim on inventory, so you better get them now. Our next commission meetings are, the Communications Commission meeting is meeting this Wednesday, the 11th at 7, and the Festival Commission meeting is going to be June 18th at 7. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Modesto. Top that.
No, I'm not even going to try. I just want to say, Lauren, thank you. Chad, Barry, I don't know all the names of everybody on the commission, but you did a wonderful job. And I say that as a trustee, a member of this board. As a resident of this island, I was blown away. The change I'll call it the change in the venue, the way the hangar was set up, the additional activities that were planned. I got a personal tour of the B-25. That was awesome. I just can't say enough. It was a wonderful event. You guys worked very hard, and you opened up your imaginations and changed it. It was beautiful. So you did reinvent the wheel, but I think we went from a bias ply to a full radio. I'm not sure. It was a wonderful event. Thank you. Number two, Wally, thanks. This was just something that came about. We had an idea of just bringing people together, walking on the bike path, walking, talking, enjoying the day, bringing the kids down to the, and again, it'll be at the Commons on Macomb and Meridian. Hot dog, ice cream, lemonade, be some light entertainment, just a few hours in the afternoon to spend some time with your friends and neighbors and get acquainted to the bike path if you haven't had this opportunity before. And Wally and myself will be filling in. And yes, I will be cooking hot dogs, Mr. Supervisor. Number three, I'd like to ask Kathy Walker if she'd come up next Sunday. And we are aware it's Father's Day. But at Water's Edge, we're going to have a kayak event. And it's going to be we're billing this as a family event, and we don't want you to think you just have to be a kayaker to attend. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fathers playing golf on that day at Water's Edge, and they and their families are invited to take advantage of this event. There's underneath the pavilion. There's going to be food to be served. There's going to be entertainment. Riverside Kayak Connection will have kayaks at the pool. The pool will be open for swimming. So while Dad's playing golf, Mom and the kids come on down. Have lunch with Dad. You can always go home and have a barbecue later on. But we're going to have barbecue chicken quesadillas, the trim-ins. You'll be able to go into Sharky's if you want and purchase mixed drinks. But the event will be the full event will be $35, and for non-kayakers it'll be $20. Again, this is family, and we're asking you to come. This is a Grosseto Recreation Department event. Kathy Walker, who's very active with We Kayak and brings kayakers down to Water's Edge every Tuesday evening throughout the summer, has worked very hard on this. And Kathy, I hope I haven't said everything, but I'm going to turn it over to you, kiddo.
Thank you. Well, I hope everybody's interested, whether you kayak or not. I expect to see everybody there because we have pins. We have inaugural pins we're giving out, and it's a really nice affair. We're going to do you can do one of two things. You can do a race, and we have prizes, or you can just do a scavenger hunt on Thoroughfare Canal, and we have prizes for that. We have entertainment. We have the pool. People have access to the pool. If they don't want a kayak, they can use the pool, and that's all part of the fee. This is a fundraiser. Since kayakers generally don't pay to launch, we want to do something to give back to the community. We want to put all the money toward the maintenance of this soft launch that you were so generous to vote for, and it's been wonderful. And this year it's even better than last year. We've got 60 feet of indoor-outdoor carpeting. Bob Hawkins' Carriage has donated some, that big, you can explain it, Tom. I don't know what it is, but it works. I know.
I'll let you finish it.
Well, okay. We're getting a lot of donations. We're going to have a lot of prizes. I put the muscle Russell and everybody I know. And we're going to have Grow Seal logo wear as gifts. We've got an original art piece of art as gifts. We've got my hairdresser. We're getting a lot of things that people want. So come on down. It's a fun day. Father's Day, it's not like Mother's Day. If you don't want to cook, we all know what that means. Okay, you don't want to cook for him, let him play golf, and then come over and eat. And it's not going to be hot dogs and hamburgers. It's quesadillas, it's chicken. It's going to be a nice meal. We'll have some hors d'oeuvres donated. I'm making brownies, and everybody knows my chocolate. So come on down, enjoy yourself. It's a nice family event.
The launch will, the initial launch will be at 9:30. The food will be from 12:30 to 2 o'clock, and entertainment will be from 1 to 4. Again, the pool is going to be open. This is, again, it's not just kayakers. This is billed to be for family. Everybody's invited to come take part of it. Hopefully enjoy themselves, and as Kathy said, it's a fundraiser for the maintenance of the kayaking facilities. We're very close to having the ADA handicapped kayak launch approved. I'm not sure when that'll be installed, but this is all going to maintain the accessibility to the river for kayakers. We are the last, and we're on the map. We're the last point of entry for kayakers on the Detroit River, and as part of the Wilderness Trail System. It'll be a good thing for everybody on Grow Seal. So please come down and enjoy yourself. Spend the day. Kathy, thank you.
Thank you, and don't forget Tuesday nights we kayak 6 o'clock. It's a free event. We welcome everyone. Thank you.
We have been doing gradual improvements to what we're calling the soft kayak launch, and it's the area has been affectionately named Kayak Cove, but Bob Hawkins has donated a section of conveyor belting that we're going to be putting underneath the carpeting to add additional protection to the bottoms of the kayakers as they exit or come back into the shore, because there's just a lot of riprap exposed. The wave action continually exposes broken concrete blocks. So we want to be able to protect the hulls of the kayaks, and a little bit at a time we're making it happen. And the wee kayaking people are great. They come down, then they go up to Water's Edge afterwards, go up to Sharky's and give Brian some business. It's good for the township. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malvesto. All right, let's see what I can wrap up here. Just some odds and ends, and a few things that are probably going to be pretty important soon. First of all, one more expansion on the Island Fest weekend, getting beyond what happened at the airport, the parade, just the whole appearance of the island, it was just gorgeous. I mean, I don't know if everybody went out and cut their lawns and trimmed and planted flowers the day before, but it was just beautiful. We had Macomb Street, very tidy, lots of flowers. The grass was all cut, and there wasn't any litter around. There wasn't any junk laying around. It just looked, the whole island was just beautiful. I was just so proud of what we were showing the guests who were coming to our community. So it was just a great weekend. So again, thanks to everybody, and getting ready for Centennial Celebration. I sort of dumped that on Lauren and her commission, and graciously accepted to assist with that. That will be on Macomb Street. So moving on to some information. The EO camera had basically an editorial on the grade separation on Allen Road, and I want to give you some background on what's going on there. I've attended 3 community meetings on this project, and we did approve a resolution in support of a Tiger grant recently to help move this along. There is no short version of this, but as succinctly as I can put it, the estimated total cost for the grade separation, Allen Road will go under, or the plan is to take Allen Road under the Canadian National Railway on Allen Road, just north of Van Horn, where many of you have reached Medicare age, apparently. It's because there's been some long stops there, and it's going to get worse. When we first met 2 years ago, they were planning on 14 trains a day. Now we're getting up to 18 and more. So Canadian National Railway is busy, and it's going to get presumably busier. So the funding breakdown for this $29,920,000 $611.95 projects, and that's Wayne County's, well, it's better than an estimate, but it's pretty precise. Short version, $2.2 million is planned to come from Woodhaven, half from their DDA, half from their general fund, matching $2.2 million from Wayne County, $1.5 million from the Canadian National Railroad, $9.6 million from a high priority project. That's what we would normally refer to as an earmark. That's been out there for a while and may not be out there much longer. And we're hoping to get $14.8 million from the TIGER grant. TIGER stands for Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery. So that grant, should they get it, the project should be a go. It will be a year and a little type of project because there's a lot of infrastructure, gas lines, oil lines, sewer, water, electric that is going to have to be moved. It will be a big project. There is a petition drive out. That's what is referred to in the editorial. You can log on and sign the petition. The Mike Sollers in question, not sure where he lives. That was reported by Woodhaven's city administrator that he is the brother of Taylor's mayor, Rick Sollers, and he's looking for 10,000 signatures. So log on and we'll see if we can make this happen. There have been a number of missteps in this project, and if you saw the sign about annoy Governor Snyder and make this happen, that was a bad move. It's a federally protected railroad and a county right-of-way road. There's no state responsibility for this project at all, although Representative Somerville has been trying to get, and he was optimistic about it previously, but the budget wasn't quite as rosy as it appears to be now, so he's still trying to find some state dollars to help move this along. So anyway, the project is still out there, supported by all the communities, and it will certainly make our lives easier. It'll make the community safer. Both our public safety chiefs supported it. So that's what that editorial was all about. Sign the petition if you deem it appropriate. The community library, again, another issue involving multiple communities. The idea is it is currently the Veterans Memorial Library on West Road in Trenton. Absolutely spectacular library. It is beautiful. It's a Wayne County library. Trenton wants to make it a community library, getting out of the Wayne County system. Everything we saw, this will be a better library for us. And our estimates, Mrs. Darznak, our finance director, has been working on this project since it first came out, and our latest estimate about $23,000. It could save us $23,000. You did approve, you voters did approve the library millage. It's a 0.4 mil, and we will only assess what we need to pay our portion. So your taxes will go down at least minusculely, but I think you'll get a better library out of it. So that's something that's in the works. They're deciding on the size and scope of the library board, but that should come to pass fairly soon. And again, Mrs. Darzak's been working this right from the beginning. It's a good idea. Vessel updates, we're looking at ways to get real-time information to you on when these coal vessels are going to be coming down to the Trenton Power Plant. I get an estimate usually about 48 hours before a ship's supposed to arrive. They give me an estimated arrival time. That would be the absolute world record earliest time one of those vessels would hit the Trenton Power Plant. Arrive at the Trenton Power Plant. And, you know, there's so many delays that can't be taken into account. They have been 36 hours late. You never know. Weather on the lake, a loading issue, any one of a number of things. So we're trying to get information out to you almost real time, and we're working on the ship captains calling the power plant. The power plant will call our dispatch, and we will push out through first call or some means to your smartphones. Only if you're signed up will you get this information almost real time. And if the captain says, I'm 15 minutes north of the toll bridge southbound, you got a pretty good idea that if you're not going to be there in 15 minutes, it's time to head down to the county bridge. The same when they go in the other direction. So we're working on that. We do want to get the information out to you and just make your commutes safer and more productive. So the chiefs and I are working on that. All the other odds and ends going on, we have the island-wide garage sales coming up August 22nd and 23rd, 9 to 4. People are lined up already on this. If you're planning your own garage sale, please become a part of this. There are thousands of people hit the island and do that garage sale stuff. Household hazardous waste collection. The next one will be Saturday, June 28th, 2014, 8 to 2 at the Henry Ford Community College on Evergreen Road in Dearborn. I'll have the flyer. There are flyers available back, and I have them posted on the website. They usually, nothing radioactive is kind of the short version. Nothing explosive either. They get nervous about that. We are still soliciting, selling engraved bricks for the, so that we get the fountain, which was on display prominently at Island Fest. We're trying to get the fountains paid for, installation is not. So for $50, a 4x8 brick paver, $100 gets you an 8x8 brick paver, and you could, looks like you could engrave quite a bit on there. Your family, a special friend, a departed relative, or anything reasonable taste will be engraved on that brick, and they're in perpetuity.
Mr. Supervisor, one
Ms.
thing,
Smith.
it makes a really good graduation gift to commemorate your son or daughter, niece or nephew.
Something to think about.
Yep.
You have that GPA down there for...
Well, no. Well, I guess it depends on the student. But anyway, I thought I would throw that out there because I did that for my neighbors.
Maybe a Father's Day or a belated Mother's Day if you're married student.
We're not paying your student loans. Love, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, now get a job. Our commission committee application, we have openings. We have these forms available, and they'll be online soon. Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Walker on the Communication Commission. Almost anything you can do at Township Hall, almost anything other than harass Dale and myself, you'll be able to do online. You can still do that, too. We'll be able to do online. It's going to be a phenomenal tool. It will be your doorway to Township Hall, and it's just going to make it easier for you and us to do business promptly. You've seen that. Let's see, you've seen that. And one more list of special events. I love the new channels. I love it. There is so much information in here. It should be by your phone at home, right next to the Rotary phone book, where the first place I always go for information. So last day of school party, always a sold-out event, for Thursday, June 12th. That's coming up, $6 per person. Reservations by June 10th. Poolside party, middle school students only, Friday, June 13th, 7 to 9. Water's Edge Pool, $7 a person. Nursery School Olympics. Soccer kick, toddler tot, basketball throw, hammer throw, parents guessing game. It's ages 3 to 5. June 21st, 9:30 at the high school track and field area. And also the island-wide garage sales listed here. Just a great device. If you're wondering what's going on in Grosse Ile, it's there. If you need a phone number or an office explanation, it's there. Great asset to the community. And that concludes my report. Anything I've missed, I'm going to turn over to our township manager.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just have a few brief items. You had mentioned the new forms in the website. Just to remind everyone, at a previous meeting, the board, at the recommendation, the Communication Commission approved the layout and, I guess, art, if you will, and that's been sent on to the vendor, and we have not received a specific date when that next step should be completed, but it is in the works, and we expect that any time now. So we're moving in that direction. And last item, at the previous meeting, I reported the Grosse Ile Alliance for the Arts proposing a mural contest. We spoke to the chairman of the Planning Commission, the chairman of the Zoning Board, if you recall, and discussed how we would treat this in relationship to our ordinances. So as it appears now, soon, maybe at the next meeting, I'm waiting for the finalized proposal from the Grosse Ile Alliance for the Arts, and that group that I mentioned will be making a recommendation to the board and how to treat that. So that possibly will be at the next meeting, and that is all in process. So nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ream. Okay, at this time, we'll open it up to public comment. Any topic, 3 minutes. Mr. Clark, you know the rules. Introduce yourself. Responsible commentary.
Ready? Legal piece.
Legal piece.
Mr. Clark, introduce yourself.
Woody Clark.
Living at?
Park Lane.
Thank you, sir.
Legal fees on the warrant list dated 5/16/2014 for O'Reilly Rensselaer in the amount of $2,613.75.
Thank you. The people you were looking for was Mike, James, and Tim. Plate on bridge. Don't beat up on Tony. He's got beat up and up on this. Let's beat up on Joey Palomera, since he's our Wayne County representative. Call him at home and beat on him for a while so we can get the plate out. I don't understand why it's taking so long, really.
You're talking the Wayne County Bridge on the east, yeah, the plate, the thump.
Yeah, the plate. It's been there. They couldn't do it in the wintertime because it's cold. Now, I don't know what excuse they got now. What?
It's too hot.
The county, okay. Now, horse mill. I've gone over this with Wally, and but anyways, we have a lake over there when it really rains. And you all know that, but when are we going to correct the problem on the lake? And when it rains over the bike path? Can we dig the ditch a little deeper?
Well, I was engineering working on it. I know it was underwater a week or so ago. Is that it?
And I let Wally speak to this, but I believe there are times where, depending on the amount of rain, the water will sheet drain right over the bike path.
Right.
That's exactly right. And I get a phone call, or my wife gets a phone call that says, put a note in Wally's mailbox, Sue, that we've got water over the road again and water over the bike path. So I dutifully run down there to find out it's no longer there. It does take some time to get rid of 3 or 4 inches of rain, but that's probably one of the worst drainage spots on the north end of the island. And yeah, I heard that there was a drain plugged, and let's just hope that we don't see another 3 or 4 inch rainfall, but if it happens again, we're going to have to be standing by to see what we could really do. You can't really tell when it's dry.
Where is it plugged? Whereabouts does it do?
The drain is on between the path and the street toward Meridian Road.
Not far from Meridian, Woody.
About where that house is on the other side?
Between the two homes, I believe. Is that roughly where it is, Wally?
Yeah. We walked it several times.
I think we already have.
Okay.
No, I don't know when it's going to be fixed, or if it can be fixed without tremendous amount of work, but it is there. It does go away kind of quickly, but it shouldn't be under the river.
Quickly.
Okay, by the time I get there, it's gone.
Well, it's 2 days later you get there, but...
Easy, fella.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments from the public? Mr. Nelson.
Jim Nelson, Real Road. I always like to follow Woody because no matter what I say, I can't go wrong. Anyway, I am here tonight to thank again our wonderful public safety, fire and police for getting me to South Shore Hospital. It's not about me, it's about them getting there in amazing time. It was a muscle strain from playing too much golf, I guess. I couldn't get out of bed, and I live alone, and so I called, and the first person I saw there, Jim, what's the matter? Duncan Murdoch. And I'll tell you what, Duncan, thank you for being there, because I don't do well with ambulances and needles and that kind of stuff, and you comforted me totally. So next time money gets tight, let's try not to look at the insurance for those people. Just a little heads up down the road. They do such a great job, as all of you know. I just want to take this opportunity to thank public safety and fire for everything they do. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Zelasco.
Bob Zelasco, Blauvelt. That's a dirt road, by the way. I apologize for my attire. I've been running all day, didn't get a chance to go home and change. I felt compelled to come here and thank and compliment our dust control team. As we know, dust control is going down today and tomorrow. And Dilbert, D&D Emulsions, and the superior product, the Durabond, is just a great combination. And my compliments to Ted, Bill Kostic, Lorenda, the DPS, and thanks to the board. It's a job well done. It's a home run. Don't change a thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zelasco. Other comments from the public? With none off, no, don't scare me, Joey. All right, with none offered, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Posiash, seconded by trustee Bundy. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none offered. Call us adjourned at 8:56. Thank you for coming tonight, everyone.